We want to make a quick note here, letting you know that we actually had to adjust the camera settings so that you wouldn't really be seeing a huge glare of blinding light. That way you can enjoy the instructions a little bit more. You may notice that when you perform it in front of a camera, you're going to get this huge glare. This is beautiful because it shows the brightness and how blinding it truly can be, but for the sake of the instructions, we have tweaked the camera settings so that you guys can enjoy it without really getting blinded, which is technically what you want for your spectators. We also want to mention you're going to see a lot of handlings in this tutorial. In fact, we're going to put them together here so you can see what's possible. Hello and welcome to Titanus's Firefly. This is an amazing effect, or I should say a utility device that you will see once you start playing with it, the amount, or I should say plethora of things that your mind will start coming up with. We're going to share with you a whole bunch of different routines and tricks and ways in which you can use it, but this is by no means the end of what can be done with Firefly. This was created, of course, as you know, by Titanus, and it's absolutely incredible. He put so much thought, so much care and love into every single tiny little aspect of this device. As you know, this is a device. And we're going to take a look at all of those little features, everything that has been put, all the love that has been put into this so that you can now use it. Now, we're going to take a look at what you receive inside of your box. Inside, you have, of course, your main unit, a beautiful note written by Titanus thanking you for purchasing this. Underneath, you will find your USB-C cable as well as a box. Also, underneath, you have a little baggie that contains some rubber bands that you're going to be using for some of the handlings with Firefly, as well as sticky putty. Now, this is the main unit, and I know this is what you want to hear about and learn all of its features. But before we move there, I do want to mention, as you may have noticed, that this is, of course, a USA plug. Or maybe if you're in Europe or in different parts of the world, you may actually need to use an adapter. We don't recommend that you use a fast charger. We actually want you to use this one because you may notice that not only is the fast charger not going to work, but you may actually damage your Firefly unit by using that fast charger, I should say. It may fry it. For those reasons, you can either take the plug and plug it into your computer and charge your unit that way. You can use also, of course, the box that we have provided for you. Or you can, if you don't have this plug in the country that you reside in, then feel free to use any adapter. Titanus, he lives, of course, in Europe, and he tells us that it's very, very common to have an adapter. They're very inexpensive. So if you can, and you don't have a place to plug this, just use that adapter. Make sure you charge it using this cable and not a fast charger. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, we'll get into then what you receive inside of the little baggie, which is going to be the sticky putty. And we'll come back to that later. And then you also have some rubber bands. Now, these rubber bands you can find yourself. A lot of the times you can find them as the little braces rubber bands. These are just the clear ones. We also want to mention that you can get those little rubber bands at beauty salons or places where they sell beauty products. Basically, they are used for braids when you do the hair and it looks really nice, like you braid it. So they use those little tiny rubber bands to tie the end at the bottom of those braids. So any shop that sells those beauty products, you're going to be able to find these little rubber bands as well as the ones that are used for the braces. Once again, these are the clear ones, super easy to find. Amazon should have them as well. Now let's get to know our actual Firefly unit, our device, what's actually going to be making that bright light. Now, I already said it's a bright light, so we can see on here that you have the USB on the side, USB-C charger. Now your unit will come with some charge in it, but we do recommend before you start using it, just go ahead and charge it up. When you plug it in, you don't actually have to plug it in all the way. You will feel a little resistance. That's good enough. You then plug it in and you will notice a red light will shine on that unit right where that button is, right at the top. Now, once that light turns off, that's letting you know your unit is fully charged and you can unplug it. It usually takes less than 25 minutes to charge your Firefly. In reality, sometimes you may charge it in 15 or even just 20 minutes. But because it will have some charge, you may get it done way quicker. The 25 minutes is if your battery is completely gone. Now, once your unit is fully charged, you are going to notice that right on top of the LED here, we have an LED right at the top, that's the bulb. You have a white little switch. By flipping that switch up, you're technically turning that unit on. Now, I'm going to press it and you'll see that it turns on, but that's because we have a specific setting on. And the way in which you can channel through the different sections or modes that Firefly has is on the opposite side of where the charger is. You'll notice there's a little black switch, and the black switch can technically be placed all the way to the top, in the middle section, and all the way to the bottom. So you can set that switch in 3 different places, giving you a different light mode on your Firefly. If we start with the switch all the way to the top, we're going to go into like the very manual setting. But before we get there, I want to talk about the actual switch. So you can see the logo of the Firefly, and it actually says Firefly on that switch. That is the button. Now, this button did not exist before creating the Firefly. It would actually create a sound. The very early units of Firefly, anytime you would press it, it would have a clicking sound when you would press it in and when it go back up. So you actually had 2 noises. Titanus did not want that, and so he actually had a brand new style of button developed. We're calling it the Ghost Touch Technology System, TM, of course, because you actually don't hear anything at all. It almost, you just have a little tactile feel that you're pushing something in and that's turning the light on. Once you have your unit, you'll see exactly what we mean. There's not really buttons out there that feel this way, but all you have to know is that it's going to be completely 100% silent. So as you can see, I have it all the way on the top. The switch is on the top. And what that means is if I press it, it just turns on during the time that I'm pressing that button. So if I keep it pressed, you'll see that light stays on. And the moment I let go, it goes off. We're going to be utilizing this feature for multiple different tricks and different things going down the line. For now, just know that this is what that first version does. As you tap it, you can create a flash, or you can have it on for as long as you want, or as long as you're technically holding on to that button down. And when you let go, it's going to turn off. When we go one step down, meaning we're going to be in the middle mode, this is going to be almost semi manual, semi-automatic. As you know, in the top one, you're in complete control. In this one, you're still going to be in control, but you're going to have a little bit more freedom. You're going to, if you press it, you'll notice it turns on and it has a very slight gradual fade. It doesn't just turn on completely automatically. It'll have a small fade, and it's also going to stay on. So you can actually set it down, and that unit will stay on for as long as you want. Or I shouldn't say as long as you want, for as long as the battery lasts, which in our testings, we've had this light on for sometimes even over 2 hours where the light is on. Of course, as time goes by, the light does start to dim, but having the light completely on at its full brightest for 2 hours automatically means that the battery in the unit is going to last you hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of performances. Now, what happens when you tap the button again is there's going to be a timer, and we'll see here 1, 2, 3, and it starts gradually turning off. So the middle section, what it does is it'll gradually turn on immediately. It will stay on until you press the button again, and then in 3 seconds, it'll dim out. So that's the middle mode. For the last mode, which means when we push the switch all the way to the bottom, that one's going to be the automatic. So everything is going to happen on its own. The moment you press it, we'll see that it waits 2 seconds and then it turns on. It's going to be on for about 7 to 8 seconds, and then it's going to dim out, as you see, without you needing to touch the button again. So you only really need to press the button, and we'll place it here on the table so you can see. We'll press the button once. In 2 seconds, it turns on. It has a gradual turn on. Now it'll stay on for about 7 to 8 seconds, and then it'll gradually turn off, as you see there, without you needing to interact with the Firefly again. So those are the 3 modes in which you can set your Firefly, and we're going to get into now how to attach the Firefly onto your finger and how to operate it. It goes without saying, just like with pretty much any other electronic, you want to turn it off when you're not using it. Now, it will technically go, it's not really sleep mode, but it's not going to be using any battery whatsoever if you're not actually turning it on. But just to preserve the battery even further, make sure you do have it off when you're not performing. So let's get into utilizing your Firefly with the elastics. You're going to need to use 2 little rubber bands included in your package. I will mention it again just in case. These are going to be the equivalent of the braces rubber bands that you can get if you have braces. The ones that we're using are completely transparent, as you see here. So just take 2 out of your packages. You can put the rest aside. And then before we use them, you want to stretch them to kind of start to work them in. So we stretch them just a little bit. We'll take the other one and stretch that one just a little bit. And you'll notice that your Firefly unit has 2 little grooves at the top near the LED and at the bottom beneath the button. Those grooves are there for your little rubber bands. You'll notice that if I take the rubber band and I place it under there, it will kind of go in. You want to pull the rubber band so that it goes to, oh, let me turn it off. You want to pull the rubber band so that it goes towards the button, and then you'll feel it almost like click into place. And then the one that's near the LED, it's also going to be moved towards the button as well. So once you put those rubber bands through that little slit, you can then almost pull them towards the direction of where the button is, and then those rubber bands will click into place. Now, of course, from here, it depends what trick you're going to do, but for now, let's just say we're going to be using it on our ring finger. What you do is take the rubber band and place it into your finger, and then you take the other one and you place that in your finger as well. Now, the actual rubber band it's going to be already clear, so it's going to be very, very difficult to see. But to hide it even further, you want to put it into the little crease that your fingers naturally have, where they break up into three different sections. If I were to place that rubber band above where that line or that crease is, you'll see that the finger tends to look a little bit unnatural. So for that reason, we put both rubber bands so that they're going along that line. Automatically, that's going to have your Firefly hidden behind the hand. And this is how you would have it, or at least on this finger. But again, you can place it on different fingers, even the thumb, according to what trick or routine you're going to be performing. For now, this is all you need to know on how to set up your rubber bands. Now let's move on to how to utilize the putty in case that's the route you want to go. Your putty, I already took mine out, is going to come inside of the little packaging. Now you want to remove the packaging, but keep the packaging, save it on the side, because you may want to adopt this little way of carrying your Firefly that I will give you after I show you how to use this. But before I show you how to use this, we also have to learn how to remove the rubber bands in case you don't want to use the rubber bands on your Firefly. And you're just going to reverse what we've already done. So if we take the rubber band that is technically closest to the LED, we're going to just pull it up so that it comes out, and just be a little gentle because you don't want to rip it. That way your rubber band will last probably thousands and thousands of performances. So you want to save that, put it back in the little baggie, and you want to do the same thing with the other one as you see here. So now that you don't have the rubber bands on your Firefly, we can start using the putty. But the putty is not really going to be as sticky exactly as it is now. We actually have to activate the putty in order for it to become the stickiest that it possibly can be. And the way in which we activate the putty is by stretching it and folding it. We stretch it and we fold it. Bunch it up and then stretch it. Fold it, bunch it up, and then stretch it. It is this motion and this movement that is going to activate your putty and make it as sticky as you need it to be. So once you have done that a couple times, you want to almost stretch it out so that it is the size of your Firefly, and then you stick it on the back. Once you stick it on the back, you have your putty pretty much ready to go. So this, you can now stick it on the back of your hand like this. One way in which I like to do it is by either holding the Firefly from the sides next to the charger there, or you can put one finger on top of the light and another one behind the button, and then you put some pressure. By adding that pressure and putting it there, you're making sure that that Firefly is not going to come out. You can move your hand and you are pretty secure with that Firefly on the back of your finger. One way in which to make sure that that sticks on there and it doesn't fall off, of course, is make sure your hands are not oily and you have cleaned your hands, at least the back of the finger, whichever finger you're going to be putting it on, so that it sticks as best as possible. If you do have oils in your hand or your hand is dirty, of course, not only are you going to dirty up your putty, but you're also going to make it harder for that Firefly and the putty to stay in your hand. That brings us to the next point, which is how to maintain and clean your putty, but we'll get into the cleaning in just a second. If you want to keep your Firefly with the putty there, you can do one of the two things that I have here. As you see on the back of this playing card, I took the little packaging and I put tape on the outside. That way the putty, I can actually stick it on that playing card when I'm not using it, and that is going to help your putty's life last and prolong it as long as possible. Of course, when you're ready to use your thing, you can just go ahead, remove it, and you're good to go. If you've already thrown out your little plastic packaging, is no problem. What I did on this one is I took a thick which technically you don't need a thick one. I just did it for the sake of the explanation so you could see how big it is. But in reality, you could also use a very thin one, since, of course, the Firefly is very, very skinny. Now, what you do is you can put it on a playing card, on a card, or on absolutely anything. And then that's how you can keep and transport your Firefly with you. Now, if you're going to have it in your pocket, you can have it on this playing card. You can also, of course, cut it to the size that you want. It could be as small as the actual putty that you have. You can place it in your pocket. You can place it in the little tiny pocket watch pocket. I think this is what this pocket used to be back in the day. And then you keep it there and you're preventing the putty from getting dirty. Now, let's say you did not do any of these things, which is completely okay, and you have gotten your putty dirty. Very simple. Just go ahead, roll the putty off, and then we're going to reactivate it. So once again, you're going to stretch it and fold it. In reality, it may seem like you're getting all the dirt everywhere, but what you're actually doing is exposing some of those fresh putty particles back to the outside. So we're going to then stretch it, stretch it, stretch it, and then you'll notice that your putty will become sticky again. Place it on the back of your Firefly, and you're now ready to go. It also goes without saying that you don't have to use this putty. If you have any other putty that you like to use, you can search for them online. They're very economical on Amazon or in supply stores. You can get a ton of this style of putty, whether they're blue tack, white, black. It doesn't matter what color it is because nobody will ever see it. It's actually being hidden between the Firefly and your finger. So it doesn't matter what color you get. And then that way you never have to clean it. You can just remove it, put a new one, and then you're good to go. We also have another way in which we're going to show you how to use or hook up, I should say, your Firefly. And that's going to involve putting together a very easy to make reel. This is going to allow you to make things vanish, transform, and we're going to get to that a little later on into the instructions. So not only can you use your putty and your rubber bands, we're also going to teach you how to put together with commonly household found items a reel so that you can end also completely 100% clean. How to get into Firefly. Of course, that is going to depend on your routine, what trick you're using, and the setup, whether you have rubber bands or the putty. We're going to go over just a couple, but again, feel free to experiment and get into it in whichever way you see fit. Now, the way in which I like to use the little putty, but again, if you have the rubber band, you're going to have to get the gimmick or the rubber bands into your finger with those rubber bands. If you're going to be using the rubber band version of the Firefly, you're going to have to get ready, probably not in front of your audience. There are ways to do it. For instance, you can be working on a trick and you have the spectators, let's say, shuffle the cards or pick a card and they see it. And then when you turn around, you can get ready behind or in front of your spectators, but you're giving them your back. You can be looking for something in the case and then you get ready. We actually have some ways in which you can place this on a thumb tip. And this is actually opened up in the thumb tip and opened up in the thumb tip. And the thumb tip is cut. It has a little cutout so that when your finger goes in and you pull out and you move up, automatically the Firefly stays with you. So once again, it just depends what routine you're doing, where you're performing, and how you're going to get into it. So you just need to structure your routine in a way that's going to allow you to take your finger, let's say you're doing the ring finger here, and then you can put it in. As you see, it takes 2 or 3 seconds to get the Firefly on, but you can't really be doing this in front of your spectators. So have a way to disguise this little setup. If you are going to be using the putty, which I love using this because you can get in and out really quickly. You can just have it palm. Let's say you have it in your pocket. With this, you can just, oh, and I have it on right now. So let's turn it off so we can explain this. So you would just immediately get in, By squeezing the card slightly, you're going to be able to get it into finger palm. And then just as you relax, you can very easily transfer it from finger palm into the other hand. Once you have it on and you know that you can now turn, well, I'm saying too many ons, but once you have it attached to your finger and you are ready to turn the unit on, you can use that same thumb to just pull and turn that unit on. I recommend, of course, that you have the setting that you're going to be used for your performance already set. That way there's not a whole bunch of things that you have to do. You just have to turn it on. The reason why I don't like to have it turned on in the pocket already is because as you press it, you may accidentally press the button and then they'll see a flash when they shouldn't. For those reasons, you want to turn it on afterwards. Again, you can just be completely relaxed here. And as you can see, it just looks very natural that your hands are just here, but you already have the unit behind. Of course, that's how to get it into that finger. But again, if you want to put it into, let's say, the back of the thumb or inside, you're going to just need to orient it in a way so that when you bring your hands together, you're automatically placing it in the orientation and in the finger that you're looking for or that you need for that specific trick or routine that you're going to be doing. You're probably wondering or thinking, oh my goodness, I have really small fingers. I can't perform Firefly. Nonsense, you can. I'll tell you how. Very easy. Instead of placing it perfectly in the center, which you still can, you want to place it closer to the middle finger. So when you set it up, you just have it slightly yeah, I have it off. Okay, slightly closer to your middle finger. Now, the only difference is that when you display the hand, you don't really want to have the fingers spread open because you do have slightly skinnier fingers, and so it may flash. But you can just close those fingers together, and then that's going to, of course, help hide your Firefly even further. So going forward, if you do have small fingers, just know that you can place your Firefly slightly closer to the middle finger. Just don't separate the fingers that much. Keep them slightly close, still relax. You don't really want to do this because that draws too much attention. If you're just relaxed, it's going to look good and there's really nothing to worry about. You can, of course, still perform Firefly without a problem or a hiccup. Let's talk about the energy ball. Now, this is what Titanus refers to as taking this effect straight out of a manga. His kids love mangas, and he says he would not have been able to come up with this effect if he was not exposed to those things. Now, I think he's actually just saying this for his kids, but because he's a brilliant thinker and creator, but let's just make him believe we know this. So we're going to use, let's just use the one with the putty. That way we can take it on and off as we see fit. And in order to perform this effect, what he likes to do is have it on the bottom setting. So you want to pull your switch all the way to the bottom, and that one's going to be the one that automatically cycles on its own. So you only press it once and it'll light up and then it'll stay on and automatically fade away. We want to have that on. We want to, of course, also turn on your Firefly unit. And now you can have it in your back. Now remember, if you have small fingers, just keep your fingers close together. If not, you can just have it straight like this. When it comes to angles, you want to make sure that the very flat part of that finger, in this case, we have it in the ring finger, is going to be facing your spectator. If you have multiple spectators that you're performing and they are at a wide angle, so then you want to keep your fingers closed. That way the spectators that are not directly in front of your finger, they can't see the Firefly from the side and it doesn't flash. But because here we have the one camera, and I believe he's using this one, not that one, he's using this one. So then we will aim it there so that the firefly is not seen. Now you can bring your hand down, and we show that there's nothing in the hands. Then we're going to slowly come over, and as this hand covers the hand that contains the firefly, as it covers it, you can then imagine the hand is covering it. You can now bend in that finger. Of course, you wouldn't see that that finger is there because the hand would be completely covering it. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to almost cup your hands as if you were grabbing something in between the hand like this. So technically, from no angle should you be able to see anything. But what you're secretly going to do is you're going to use this meaty part of your thumb to turn on or to click, to press your firefly as your hand comes together. You don't really want to do this pushing action because that's going to seem like you're pressing something. It's almost like you're just coming together, and then you're just going to lightly touch the button, and then that should turn it on. So once again, you would be here, you would come together, come over, and then you'll see that it'll just start to light inside. If you have it completely covered, they can't see anything. So you want to have a little opening, but you want to be mindful of your finger. You don't really want to expose that finger because that's just going to look weird. They might think maybe that's like a worm or some sort of weird protrusion that you have in your finger, and that's not the effect that we're looking for. Remember, you want to keep that finger hidden behind the palm. Don't really expose it. And the other thing to be aware of is you also don't want to be like this, where they can clearly see the gimmick. You want to make sure that your hand is blocking that gimmick from view, and then you're leaving a little tiny, let me press it so you see, you're leaving a little tiny cave so that they can see that something has lit in there or that there's some sort of light. Now, from here, if you want to create the illusion or the feel that it's kind of flickering, all you have to do is just move your hand back and your finger back and forth, and that will create this glitch illusion. Now, the more you play with your firefly, you will start to learn its timing, and you will also start to see it dim. The moment you start to see it dim, you want to reverse the movements like this and show that there's nothing in your hands. Again, you're not really showing the back of the hand, but if you did want it to show the back of your hand, you could bring them together like that and just relax. Of course, from here, you could steal the firefly into finger palm as you're just relaxing, and then it can go back into your pocket where maybe you have your card with either the tape or the plastic, but this could even be a little piece of wax paper that you attach to a card. That way, you can get in and out of your firefly. Now, that is doing it with cupped hands. The reason we're showing you that version first is because it is the easiest one, and it is also the one where you are less likely to flash, so you don't really have to worry that much about your angles. Again, you can start here, you can show there's nothing, bring the hands down, always keeping the back of the hands away from your audience, and as you come together, you bend, you press, and now you'll see that it turns on. Feel free to move your finger if you want. And once you see that light starting to dim, just like this, that's when you can very slowly open up behind the finger, so just like this. And now you can show that there's absolutely nothing in your hands. Then you can relax like this, and immediately you will have stolen the firefly into finger palm. Be careful when you put it into finger palm that you don't accidentally press the button again. For those reasons, you want to have the top portion of that firefly against the junction of your palm with your finger, so that this is here, and then your fingers are touching it. As you can see, the Ghost Touch technology TM button is completely hidden, or is free and floating, and there's no way you can accidentally press it. So that a light doesn't just randomly appear out of nowhere. Once you're comfortable with this version of the energy ball, you can then take it a slightly step further. Rather than cupping the hands like this, you can now cup the hands maybe more as if you were going to pray. And this is going to give you a very similar look. But that's going to allow you to then go from here, and then you can even go into this motion where it looks more like your fingers are open, and then you can show the hands. So what that's happening there, and if you want, you can place this slightly higher or lower depending on how big or small your fingers are, but just play around with where it's at. And what is happening is the same thing from underneath. You're just doing this. The spectators think like you have it like this, but in reality, you're here. You're using this portion to turn that light on. And so now it's showing. If you press the light against the back of your hand, you can see how it glows red. Let me do it again. So you can see if I have it separated, you see a light, but if I press it against, you can see it glows red. Now, this way, from there, you can also extend your fingers this way. For this version, you actually want to have it slightly lower. That way, the gimmick is hidden even further behind this palm of the hand. So now you would be here. You can, of course, move it like this. And your spectators will believe that your hands are this way. But from the front, this looks pretty much exactly the same as that because you're using that finger as cover. And so then that's what's letting you press that light on, and now it looks like you have a ball in your hand. You can play around in front of the mirror so you can see your angles and you can see how this looks. It looks really magical. And then once you see that dimming, you can then, of course, open up the hand. You can use this hand in front of the other hand to cover the fact that that is opening and also to hide the Firefly even further. Once again, we will re-mention here that you want to be aware of the angle or the pitch of your hand. If you have it sideways in any which way to the eyesight of the spectators, you may run the risk of accidentally flashing part of your Firefly. Again, if you have different spectators at different heights, feel free to keep the hands slightly more closed. If you're just performing one-on-one or on camera as we are here, you are more able to keep that finger open, being aware of the flatness of your finger and the direct line of sight to either the camera or your spectator's eyes. That's going to help that be hidden even further. From there, once you relax, you can steal the gimmick here like this. It'll just completely unstick. If you have the rubber bands, so then you can use the thumb to help pull those rubber bands off, and then your finger will be free as well. Of course, feel free to use whichever way of energy ball that you like to do, and also feel free to mix and match both. For instance, you can come, show the hands empty, come back here, and then you come forward and you almost do the one where it goes here, and then you can transition to one or the other as you then come over, and then, oh, I did it prematurely. I'm not really counting or feeling the time because I'm just doing it for you guys, but let's try it one more time. So we can come here, show, then almost do this here where the light will show up, and now we can even transition to that one. Open up the hand so they see it here, then maybe close it up again, and then we can show that there's absolutely nothing to see. From here, we then relax, and we can now move on to whatever it is we want because we have stolen the Firefly off of the finger. When it comes to the energy ball, we can also utilize a very old method of having like the pen stick to the hands or to the fingers, but we can use it with Firefly. What that is if you put your hands out like this and you bring the Firefly in and you interlace your fingers, you'll be able to use this little version of almost making it seem like you have the ball and they can see all the fingers when really you're hiding one of them. So, of course, from here, you would then show that there's absolutely nothing. So if you're familiar with this little method where you're basically just interlacing the fingers, but one of them gets hidden like that, that way you can clip a pan, or there's multiple different things you can do with this. But feel free to also use this with your Firefly. As you can see, there are multiple different ways in which you can create the illusion of having that energy ball. Now, whether you want to use it to make a kamehameha or to just have some sort of light appear in between your hands mysteriously, whichever way in which you want to present it, you now have multiple different handlings that you can either use on their own or combine them to create one, or create a sequence of moves that is going to fit you. Of course, the light doesn't have to just appear out of nowhere. You can have your spectator turn on their flashlight, or you can go to a light and then come over, and it's almost like you're grabbing that light from the light, and then you're placing that light back so that you can somehow manipulate already light that exists out there. I will also mention at the end of this video, we're going to tell you how you can change the color of the light that you get produced. That will require you to purchase a little something something. And here's the thing, it's just going to be a colored gel that's somewhat transparent. By just putting it on there, you're also going to be able to change the color of the Powerball that you're creating. So we're going to take the light bulb, and you can see if we just hold it here like this, it immediately turns on. But that's because it's not connected to actual power, just the ether, but it doesn't last for long. It actually goes out fairly quick. As you see, it goes back to normal. And this is how you can light a light bulb with your Firefly without ever plugging it in. Of course, why would you want to plug it in? But the idea now is that we have the Firefly on our index finger. So it's on the back of the finger. Now, it is hard to have some sort of misdirection here on the camera, but if you see, if you hold the gimmick like this and you pretty much extend your fingers back, you're going to be able to very easily press the button. Okay, so again, we're using the bottommost mode on Firefly, and so you're going to have 2 seconds for the Firefly to turn on. So the moment you press it, 1, 2, and then automatically, once we bend in our finger and we hold on to the light bulb like that, it's going to give the illusion that the light bulb is on. Let's turn it on so you see. So we're here. Then again, the more you play with your Firefly, you will understand or get familiar with the actual timing of it, and you're going to then drop it, and as you drop it, you extend your hand. Because this is dropping into the other hand, and the whole hand is opening, the action or the movement of this, the eyes will go there, and even if you do this slightly out of sync, in real performance, nobody will ever see anything behind your finger. You can, of course, then close your finger and grab it like this and hand it to a spectator if you want them to hold it. The moment they hold it like that, you just bring your hand back and you can now steal that piece. But again, I'll leave how you get into and how you place it here, whether you're going to come over and just place it there as you then get into it. And I accidentally pressed it. Oh, so bright. But that is going to be up to you. What we want to show you is how you can light it. Now, we found that using it on the index finger with the light bulb tends to be the best way to go, but feel free to experiment maybe with your middle finger or your ring finger. Maybe in your hands it's going to be easier for you to use those fingers. You don't have to use one of these light bulbs. If you have any other light bulb that you think could work, go ahead, test it out, experiment, become a magical scientist to figure out which one's going to work best for you. If you don't want to, of course, carry a light bulb around, you could just ask somebody to remove the light bulb and hand it to you. At that time, you get ready. When they hand it for you, maybe you try to hold it, you can't do it. Maybe when you come here and you start rubbing it, now as all the attention is here, you can press the button, and as you come over, then it turns on. So now it's on there. And then, of course, you say it doesn't really last forever. It actually goes out there. And now you come here and you can hand it back and they can put it back. Of course, when they're putting it back, you have all the time in the world to get rid of your Firefly. Another thing you could do if you have a smart light bulb is, and you know how to write a shortcut, or you just have a friend help you out, you give them your app so that they can turn on and off the light bulb, you can very easily make it seem like not only are you taking the light, but the moment you take the light out of the light bulb, the light in the light bulb goes out and now it's here. And then you guys just time it so that then when you go put it back, your friend or the shortcut that you put on your phone will automatically turn your smart light bulb back on. Of course, this is just like a little bonus. If you do have one of those smart light bulbs, are becoming really, really popular now, you can go ahead and do that and it should be pretty magical. It also goes without saying that you want to know what light bulb you're going to be using. What I mean by that is if the light bulb has been on for 10 minutes or even longer than that, the light bulb will most likely be hot. So you probably don't want to do it with that because it's going to be very difficult to even handle it. Likewise, you don't want to take off the light bulb when it's on because we don't want you to get electrified or any of those things to happen. So be mindful that you are working with electricity and it can be dangerous. But again, if you've taken all of those things into account and you want to perform this effect, please do so safely. We're going to try to do a little experiment with ourselves. We're going to see if we can somehow tap into the light that people claim is within us. I'm not making any claims. This is not me, the people, this is other people. So, Wesley, can you take any card at all and go ahead and show it to the camera? Okay, and once they've seen it, just say stop anywhere you want.
Stop.
And place your card back, and we'll lose the card. Now, I don't know why I was looking away the entire time because it doesn't really matter where the card is. I'm not going to try to find your card. In fact, you're going to be the one that tries to find your own card.
Really?
We're going to use yourself and your inner being to tap into the location of your card.
All right.
In order to do this, you need to put your hand like this, just like that. And then no matter what happens, unless, of course, you're in danger, you can move your hand. But keep your hand locked in place.
Got it.
And this is what I will do. I will place the card there. I don't see anything, so probably nothing's happening. When you do see your card, I want you to just imagine the brightest light inside of your mind. Okay? As bright as you can possibly make it. If it's the 10 of clubs, you would picture it as bright as you can. And as we go, we should see, hopefully, your imagination come. Oh, is that it? Is that it? Were you thinking of the 8 of spades?
Yeah.
So you have a brightness inside of your mind. Now turn it off completely now. And then there you go. There it is. You can, not only can you check that out, you can check absolutely every single one of those cards.
That's crazy.
Now we're going to go over the card trick you just saw. Of course, feel free to change the presentation to something that fits you. The idea is that from the spectator's hands, the card is being almost like shined or it glows. Now, I'm first going to show you the way in which Titanus performs this effect, and then I'll show you a very easy version, which is the one that I ended up using in the performance. Now, I'm using the Ace of Clubs as the key card to help us find that card, or to let us know that their card is going to be coming up next. What he likes to do is place the card 5th from the top. And I'm going to do it or leave it face up so that you can see it. So as you can see here, we have 4 cards right on top, and that card is going to be face up only because we're explaining it. When you perform it, just have it face down. So for now, we'll leave it here. Of course, you're going to need your Firefly, and we have it on the setting all the way down. So the mode is at the bottom, and then we're going to turn it on when we're ready to perform, and it gets placed on that ring finger. So I'm just going to push down like this, and now we're ready to go. Because you're holding the cards, that is going to pretty much always be hidden. What you don't want to do is accidentally flash it to your spectators by raising the cards up. You want to pretty much have the cards facing your audience so that it is not seen. Also, be aware if you have your spectator on your right or on your left, wherever it is you're going to have them, be aware of their line of sight so that you always keep that firefly hidden. Now, what we're going to do is have your spectators touch the back of a card. And what Titanus does is, as he tells them to pick a card, he's going to call the fifth card. So you can just very easily do that by placing that fourth card directly on top, placing the thumb on top of that fourth card, and with your fingers underneath, you pull the card under the spread. So now that ace is technically underneath. Of course, you can see what is happening here because the card is face up. But if we have this face down, you'll see that you say, and here I have a whole bunch of cards. Go ahead and touch anyone you want. And that's placing that ace of clubs under the spread. Now, they can touch any card. It doesn't matter which one they touch. Let's say they touch this one right here. What you do is you just place that card directly on top. Okay, so the card is going to go on top. If we have it face up and we start from the beginning, you'll see, I'll do it very slowly. It gets stolen under the spread. Let's say they touch this card here. You would have that ace of clubs there, and it just gets placed directly on top. So from underneath, what it looks like, let's say they touch this one, you're just basically pushing that card so that it's directly on top of the one that they touched, in this case right here. So this is really good because now you can show them the card and your setup is already done. What this also does is it ensures that you don't go up and flash the firefly. You can just use your hand to show that card. Immediately, you can clearly show that it goes back, and there are absolutely no controls. Again, always be mindful of where that gimmick is in relation to your audience's line of sight. Now, all you have to do now is almost estimate. This is what Titanus likes to do, is he estimates where that card is, and then he just shuffles a couple cards off of the top so that oh, I should have left it face up to show you, but so that, oh, I did. So that ace remains near the top of the deck. Okay, so as we can see here, there's a couple of cards and then that card is right there. Then all you have to do is have your spectator hold their hand above the table where you're going to be dealing. And then once you know, well, the way in which you want to deal is with the whole hand going underneath and then picking the card and flipping it over. The reason you're doing that is so that when you get to that ace, let's just keep dealing, so that when you get to that ace of clubs or whatever your key card is, you're already here. Your hand already is going to do what it has been doing for all the previous cards. We're naturalizing the dirty move here. You do have to remember that this will be face down, so you don't really know that it's there. When you come over and you place it face up, now you know your key card became exposed. So when you deal this top card, that will be the card that they have selected. That's when you, at the same time you're taking the card, you're actually pressing the button and placing it there. Again, the light will turn on in 2 to 2.5 seconds and it will shine. During your presentation, you want you to tell your spectators not to move your card, their hand, I mean, and to leave it exactly where it's at. If you feel like they may move their hand, you can feel free to grab their hand so that they don't move the hand. Wait until the timing of your firefly is going to start to turn off, and then you can slowly move their hand away, and then the light will go, giving them the impression that the light was coming from their hand. And of course, that is going to be the end of the trick, and you are pretty much good to go. From here, you can then hand them all of the cards, and you can use this hand almost like to gesture that there's no electronics, nothing really in your hands. And then you can even rest your hand on the side of the table or to your side, or we can do what we've been doing, which is just bringing the hands close together so that you can palm that Firefly away. If we want to go and use an even because this is pretty easy, but if you want to use an even simpler version of doing this trick, which is the one I used for the performance on the video, you want to place your key card, in this case the ace of clubs, on the bottom of the deck. The rest of the deck, of course, goes on top, and the order doesn't matter. Now, because we have our key card underneath, what we're going to do is have the spectator take any card at all that they want. Let's say they take this one. As they are showing this card around to the audience, you start cutting cards using a swing cut into the other hand, and you tell them to say stop. If you're familiar with riffle force, so then you're going to pretty much do the same timing force with, oh, and I lost the ace of clubs because I didn't keep track of it. Okay, so right there. So what's basically happening here is as we are doing this, we tell them, and just go ahead and say stop. You naturally want to get almost the entire deck and just a few cards left here so that when they place the card back, you are just having a few cards on top of your key card. If we turn our key card face up here, you can see, let's say that is the card. And we say here, or you don't even have to tell them to say stop. You could just be like, and let's just place your card back. They place the card back, and notice how there's very few cards here. That gets placed on top. And now here you can do any false shuffle or cut that you want. Again, make sure you don't flash that. But basically all that is a cut. We keep the break, and then we do a double undercut back to the top. If you want to know what I used in the video, all I did is I did a overhand shuffle where I started there. I pick those back up with the hand, then I shuffle everything else, and I throw what I picked up back on top. What that does is it's going to keep those your key card and the selection near the top of the deck, so that when you do this, you're not going through a whole bunch of cards. You're just going through, let's say, 10 or technically as many cards as you want, so that you can get to the card quickly and you're not there dealing for a long time. Again, the idea behind this trick is to use the spectator's hands to find the card. But it doesn't have to just be the spectator's hands. In fact, it could be your own hand. That you don't have a spectator or you don't really want to have them hold their hand there. You could very easily say, and I'm just going to place my hand and see if we can figure out where that card is. And once we get to, let's say, there, now you come here, you place it there, and when you do this, you'll get shine. Oh, and there it is. So is your card the 10 of hearts? Yes. And in that time that you're saying that, you wait, you move around, and then you can give them the card, and then the trick is over. Another idea that you could use if you don't like to use your hand, almost like the hand is what's producing the light, feel free to just give them your phone or use their phone, and they just hold their phone. Let me see if I have my phone. I do. And they just hold their phone flat on their hand. That way, there's no way nobody could touch the phone or the flashlight or anything on there. And then it will give, let me press that here, it will give the impression that it is the light from the phone that is turning on to let you know that that is their card. So whether you want to use the spectator's hands, your own hand, or your phone, you have multiple ways in which you can control that card, their spectator's card, underneath a key card, so that you can know exactly when to trigger Firefly and reveal that you know where the card is, or the phone, or whatever presentation you're using, and you can find their card.